Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal, just in case you are new here. And today I have at least 20 books for you that I want to read this fall. So I split all of these books up into categories. I have some middle grade, some young adult, some nonfiction. I have a lot of stuff going on here. I have classics. There's a lot of books that I want to read this fall, and I'm really feeling in the fall spirit right now with reading. I've been so in the mood for Gothic stories. So a lot of the books that are going to be mentioned today are Gothic, paranormal type stories, and classics. I've just been in the mood for it. I don't know why. It's just something new for me, and I'm really excited about it. So let's just get into the books. So the first group of books that I have for you that I want to read this fall are middle grade. And the first one would be The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This will be a reread for me. I love Ray Bradbury, and this one just reminds me of my childhood so much. This was the first Ray Bradbury book that I ever picked up. It's about a group of friends who go trick-or-treating on Halloween night, and all of a sudden one of their friends just disappears, and basically they have to find out where their friend went, and it takes them on adventures to all different kinds of lands to find out where their friend disappeared off to on Halloween night. It's such a great story. It's super spooky, and I've just been in such a mood for spooky middle grade, like Halloween Town vibes, all of that, and you definitely get that in here. I would say it's a little spookier than Halloween Town, but you get my drift. I have here Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. It's been on my TBR since it came out. I want to say that this is a story about a haunted farm, and this scarecrow right here I think might be part of it. So I've heard really good things. It's about these kids that go on like this school trip to this farm, and spooky things start to happen, and you know, I guess I'll find out more when I do read it. I have here The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. It's a book that I've owned, but I've never gotten to, believe it or not. This is about a baby who was like abandoned and grows up in a graveyard and is raised by ghosts. And I think that is such a really cool premise of a story. And it just sounds spooky and atmospheric. And I just love Neil Gaiman's writing. So I'm really excited to get into this book. The next I have here, Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. This is the sequel to City of Bones by Victoria Schwab, and I'm really excited to get into this. I've had it since last year, and I received City of Bones as an ARC when I met Victoria at BookCon one year. And I absolutely devoured the book in one sitting, so I'm really excited to get into the second one. This is about the French catacombs now. The first one, City of Bones, was about Edinburgh, Scotland, and how it's haunted, and our main character, her best friend is a ghost, and her parents are supernatural, like ghost hunters, but they're really not good at what they do, and they don't know that their daughter sees ghosts, and it's a really great fun story. The next I have another book that I've owned for so long, and that is Nightmares by Jason Segel and Kristen Miller. I have this actually, it's a signed copy by my man, Jason Segel. I love him, in case you didn't know. Jason Segel is from so many movies with Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd. I Love You, Man. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And he actually did the new Muppets, which was phenomenal, so good. He is just such a great artist, so I'm really interested to see how he has written this series. I've heard great things about this series, and there's so many books so far in this series. So this is the first one, and I believe this is about a boy who, like, in his sleep goes on adventures. Let's see. Charlie Laird has several problems. One, his dad married a woman he is sure He is sure moonlights as a witch. 2, he had to move into her purple mansion, which is not a place you want to find yourself after dark. 3, he can't remember the last time sleeping was in a nightmarish prospect, like even a nap. What Charlie doesn't know is that his problems are about to get a whole lot more real. Nightmares can ruin good night's sleep, but when they start slipping out of your dreams and into the waking world, that's a line that should never be crossed. And when your worst nightmares start to come true, well, that's something only Charlie can face. And he's going to need all the help he can get, or it might just be lights out for Charlie Laird. For good. Now that sounds so spooky for like a middle grade, but I can't wait to read this. The illustrations are really cute. You can kind of see in the dust jacket here, and yeah, so I'm just excited to read this. It's a purple cover, and I love purple, and the moon in the background, and witchiness, and ghosts, and haunted mansions, and Gothic feels. I'm down for it. That's all I want in life right now is spooky Gothic books. So the next group of books that I have here is young adult, which I really thought I had more, so there might be more on this list, but we're just gonna go through the ones that I have here, and that is the first one I would like to get to is And the Trees Crept In by Dawn Kurtica. I love Dawn Kurtica's writing, and she's an awesome person. We have connected on Instagram, and we just share witchy posts with each other, and it's so much fun. So I have yet to read this book. I believe this is one of her first published works, and if you've never read anything from Dawn Kurtica before, she uses mixed media in her stories, and it's kind of like you're solving the mystery of the story along with the author. It's really awesome, and I have so much fun reading her books. They're quick reads as well. It is about a haunted woods, and it is about a haunted mansion, and ghostly things start happening, and yeah, it sounds super gothic, super creepy, and ghostly, and all the things that I love. I wasn't sure if this was a YA book or not. I didn't place it as middle grade, but it possibly could be middle grade. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I still have yet to read this, and I'm really looking forward to getting to it. It is also about a haunted Gothic mansion. It also sounds like the narrator is super unreliable as well, so we shall see what happens, but I know our character lives with her sister and the rest of her family is dead, and yeah, that's pretty much all I know about the story. Next I have here The Near Witch by V.E. Schwab, and this is I want to say it's like a folklore inspired story about a witch in this small town that seems to be haunting this small town. Children start going missing in this town, and it is believed that this story of this witch could possibly be true, but also our main character's friend or like boyfriend or somebody that she knows is kind of suspicious, and they're questioning the disappearances of the children and kind of relating it to him. So our main character is gonna put together this story to figure out what is going on and who is snatching these children out of their beds at night. Then next I have my huge stack of adult fiction that I'd like to get to that is super spooky and gothic and all the things that I want to read. So next I want to read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This sounds so good. Everyone keeps talking about it, and everyone keeps telling me you're not going to look at mushrooms the same way, and I'm really curious now about that. This is also a Gothic haunted house styled story, and is it haunted? Is it psychological? I don't know. Have to find out. But one of my friends read this recently, and while I was doing her hair, and she was in the salon for like, I guess we were like 2 hours, and she finished it so fast, and she was just eating it up. She said it was so good. So I can't wait to get my hands on this. I'll probably pick it up today after I stop this video. Next I have here The Shining by Stephen King. This will be a reread for me, and I'm really excited to read this edition because it's the Halloween edition of The Shining from Book Depository. This is also our Constantly Reading book club pick for the month of October. So if you are interested in reading The Shining and getting super spooky, definitely pick this up. This is also like a haunted hotel type book, psychological horror book, and I just love the story. It's a classic, and if you haven't read it yet and you're wanting to read Stephen King, please join our book club. The link is down below in the down bar. We have a Discord group and we have a Goodreads page. So the Discord group is a lot more of a chat, and if you're a talkative person and you love talking books, definitely join the Discord. But if you just want to give us some of your ideas every now and then, Goodreads is a great group to join, and I just highly recommend it because we have a great book discussion every month. The next book that I would like to read is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. This was actually part of my Halloween TBR last year, and I never got to it, but I feel like I need to incorporate an Agatha Christie book to my spooky TBR for fall, and I'm gonna go with this one again. I stopped reading it like 25 pages in. I just wasn't feeling it then, but I'm totally into it right now, and I can't wait to pick it back up. This is about a murder that happens at a Halloween party, and our favorite detective has to solve the murder and figure out what's going on. I love that it takes place on a Halloween party, so it's perfect fall feels, and Agatha Christie just writes the perfect atmospheric setting, and I just love England lately. I've been loving Victorian London, the UK, any books that take place, Scotland, all of that dreary, dark atmosphere. I'm so into it, and I recently found out I have some family history DNA from that part of the world, so that could be why it is starting to resonate with me, why I want to read more Victorian London, Scottish, Ireland, all of that stuff kind of books, but I really can't wait to get back into this book. Sounds so much fun. The next I have The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. Now, in case you didn't know, Craig Davidson is Nick Cutter, who wrote The Troop, and so many other stories. I picked this up last year with every intention of reading it, and I just never got to it. I don't know why. I left it on the bottom of my TBR cart, so I could have just completely forgotten about it. I need to be better about making lists about books that I read, but I want to say this is like very reminiscent of Stranger Things and It. It takes place in two different timelines. It's about a group of friends who have this like ghost club, and then they get older and kind of have to like revisit and come all back together to hunt ghosts, I believe. Next I have here Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. This is a haunted house, Gothic, Victorian London styled spooky story. I will read you the synopsis in the back because this really got me, and it's been on my TBR for a while, and I recently watched Darling Desi. I don't know if you guys watch her channel, but she has great book recommendations. I am in love with her whole aesthetic. She makes me want to read all of the Jane Austen books ever, and I just really don't read Jane Austen, but I will now. But this I found from her recommendations video, and I will read you the synopsis. Something has been let loose. In Edwardian Suffolk, a manor house stands alone in a lost corner of the fens, a glinting wilderness of water whose whispering reeds guard ancient secrets. Maud is a lonely child growing up without a mother, ruled by her repressive father. When he finds a painted medieval devil in a graveyard, unhallowed forces are awakened. Maud's battle has begun. She must survive a world haunted by witchcraft, the age-old legends of her beloved fen, and the even more nightmarish demons of her father's past. Spanning 5 centuries, Wakenhurst is a darkly gothic thriller about murderous obsession and one girl's longing to fly free. Amazing. Witchcraft, demons, gothicness. I'm here for it. And if you look at all the symbolism on the cover, it's really a little bit of everything. Occult is on here, and I freaking love the occult. So next I have this book that I have been haunted by, and that is Anne Rice's The Witching Hour. As you can tell, I am currently reading it, and I am at the halfway point of this book. I am determined to finish it this fall. I mean, reading this one book is like reading three, and I started it in August. August was not a good reading month for me, but I read majority of this in September, so I'm really looking forward to reading more in October, and hopefully finishing in October. But I love this book, and I think that's why it's taking me a long time to read it, because I am just enjoying it. I'm reading every single damn word. Anne Rice writes so well, and it's just so dense. The language is dense. Like, everything about this book is dense. There's so much family history in here, like not just the plot. Like, I'm not even on the plot really right now. I'm getting the family history of the Mayfair witches, and it's so dang good, and it's so wrong. There's so much stuff. There's incest. There's just so much crazy things that happened with this family. They're messed up, but it's just such a great story so far. So yeah, I highly recommend it, but it will take you a long time to read. I guarantee it. So what this is about, I can't even really tell you what it's about. It's just about the Mayfair witches. And if you look up the synopsis, there's really not much there to explain, but it's really like, it's just so good. It's so good. So check it out. If you've read Anne Rice before or haven't, this is my first Anne Rice, and I can't wait to read more from this incredible woman. The next I have here, Things in Jars by Jess Kidd. Yeah, I just never got to this, and I have been wanting to read this, but this is a Victorian London mystery / curiosity shop / supernatural / mermaids. It seems very like Sherlock-y and has ghosts in it. It has a little bit of everything that you could possibly want if you enjoy Gothic supernatural ghost stories. And I like anything that has like the curiosity shop vibe to it. So like there's things in jars. So there's like body parts and brains and skulls and just odds and ends, bones, like things that you would never think of. It's in here, and I will read you the synopsis in case you are interested, because I believe Stephen King actually read this and loved it as well, and I believe that's why I picked it as my book of the month. But it says here, Bertie Devine, flame-haired, pipe-smoking detective extraordinaire, is confronted with her most baffling puzzle yet, the kidnapping of Christabel Berwick, secret daughter of Sir Edmund Athelstan Berwick, a peculiar child whose reputed powers have captured the unwanted attention of collectors in this age of discovery. Winding her way through the sooty streets of Victorian London, Bertie won't rest until she finds the young girl, even if it means unearthing secrets about her own past that she'd rather keep buried. Luckily, her search is aided by an enchanting cast of characters, including a 7-foot-tall housemaid, a melancholic tattoo-covered ghost, and an avuncular apothecary. But secrets abound in this foggy underworld, where nothing is quite what it seems. Blending darkness and light, Things in Jars is a mesmerizing novel that collapses the boundary between fact and fairy tale to stunning effect and explores what it means to be human in inhumane times. Sounds so good. Yeah. So pick it up if that sounds good to you. I'm definitely reading it this season. So there are 2 books that I don't have in my possession, but I have to read this season, and that is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab, whatever she's going for this one. Those are both adult fiction. A Deadly Education just sounds so good. It's a dark academia book, and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is about... It's kind of philosophical in a way. I think it's about Addie LaRue and from the 1700s to now. I want to say, I don't know if she's reborn or she's immortal or what the case is, but it's just her life and romance and the trials and tribulations that she goes through from the 1700s to present day. And it just sounds spooky and gothic and romantic and sad, and it just sounds like a lot of emotions are going to be happening while reading this book. So I'm really looking forward to it. Victoria Schwab, like I said previously, is one of my favorite authors. And in this fall TBR, I'm reading 3 of her books, which says a lot. Then the next pile of books I have here to read are my classics. These are the classics that I really want to get to this fall, and hopefully I do. But they're super spooky and atmospheric, and everyone knows them. So I'm not going to go in too much depth about what they're about. I'm just going to show you which ones I want to read. So the first one is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I tried reading this book, and it wasn't really a good time to read it because it was during quarantine and I just couldn't get my mind around it. It was, it's pretty dense of a book and I just couldn't focus. So very much looking forward to getting back into Rebecca. Next, I have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is a like spooky, supernatural, Gothic story about like a haunting in a manor. It is blurbed as one of the best mystery thrillers of all time. So let's see. It is a chunker. I did not know it was this big at all. So I'm kind of curious, and I hope it holds my attention because it is. It was written in the mid 1800s. So the language is definitely going to be a little bit more dense for me to read, but we shall see. Yeah, but I've heard nothing but great things for the people that have read it and gotten through it. Next, I have Dracula by Bram Stoker. I am just in the mood for vampires. And last year I read Dracula by Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker, and I just really loved that. So I need to follow up this October with Dracula, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I love these editions that I got from Barnes & Noble. They're my favorite, and I just can't wait to like hold it and like read it. But yeah, I haven't read Dracula since I was in high school, so I'm curious to see how I feel about it now. Hopefully I like it better than I did then, which I think I will. And then next I have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which was part of my Horror in 24 TBR, and I just never got to it. So I'm going to force myself to read it finally for the spooky season, because it's supposed to be a spooky book. I mean, I know it's like daunting, but I need all the atmosphere I can get since I can't really do many fall Halloween spooky activities this year. And then the final classic I'd like to get to is The Haunting of Hill House, which I absolutely love this edition. A lot of people that I feel like are reading this more recently because of the series that came out, and a lot of people are disappointed by this book, but I think it's because it's really not like the series. So yeah, but I've never read it. I know people that love it and I know people that hate it. So I am here to make a judgment for myself and include this in my fall TBR because it's spooky. It's about a haunted house, and this cover is phenomenal. Like, I've never seen such a pretty book before in my life, and I'm just so happy I have it. So that is it for the classics. And now I have a few nonfiction, occult style books here that I want to read for the spooky season because I just love occult books. So I have here Cursed Objects by J.W. Oker. This is just like a compendium of all of the cursed spooky objects in the US, the world, and a little bit of backstory on why they're cursed, the history of them, where they came from, and what has happened to the people that have encountered them. So there's Annabelle in here, there's the Dybbuk box, there's a little bit of like ancient Egypt in here. There's a little bit of everything. Probably a lot of things from the Warrens' house because they had their own like cursed object like history museum. But I now think that one of my favorite persons in the world, Zach Baggins, has his own curiosity shop and oddity shop where a lot of these objects now exist in Las Vegas. So if you're someone that lives near Vegas or is planning on going anytime soon, definitely check that out if you're into haunted, spooky objects. His museum seems pretty cool. You could kind of check it out. I think he has like a TV show. You could probably find it on Hulu that is about cursed objects also. But J.W. Oker wrote The Season of the Witch, and I really love his writing. He also wrote 12 Nights at Rotterhouse, which is like a spooky haunted house type story about a writer who's staying in a haunted house for a couple nights and things start happening. So, yeah. I'm excited to read this and just educate myself on haunted objects because I love paranormal everything. The next I have here, The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish. It's a classic study. It's 50 years old, over 50 years old, of the occult, basically. So all things that people are just unsure of, like witchcraft, like tarot, like demonology, like astrology, and all those other things, sacred geometry, all those things are in here. And it's just like a brief history. And I've heard great things about this book. It is now republished, and it's a factual guide of the occult. There is a blurb in the back here that says, The Black Arts is a fascinating and wonderfully readable exploration of the practice, theory, and underlying rationale of magic and occultism in all its branches, including witchcraft, spells, numerology, astrology, alchemy, Kabbalah, tarot, charms, and summoning and control of spirits. This edition features a 50th anniversary introduction by historian of alternative spirituality, Mitch Horowitz, who frames the book for a new generation of readers. I did read the introduction from Mitch Horowitz, and I felt like it was a great explanation of what to expect throughout this book. And as someone who practices divinity and witchcraft and all that stuff, I'm really looking forward to getting more of like an in-depth history guide of what people actually think about it and the facts. It sounds cool. So I highly recommend picking this up if you're into occult studies like I am and just want to know everything about everything. Next I have here Ghostland, An American History and Haunted Places, and this is just a little guide to pretty much all the haunted places in the United States. And I'm here for it. I love that stuff. And I love how this has like the little old like gravestone thing that they used to put on graves back in the day. If you walk around Salem in like the old cemeteries, or even like wherever you live in some of the older cemeteries that have like people from the 1700s and stuff like that, the stones will have this little angel skull thing. So that is it. This is probably a really long video. This is the longest TBR I've ever made, but I'm thinking about not making a TBR for, well, I didn't make one for September. I'm not making one for October until I have my Fright Week TBR, but I'm really not going to be doing TBRs anymore. I'm just going to give you guys updates of what I want to read because my mood has changed so much, and whenever I pick books to read on my TBR, I never get to them. I never get to them because there's just too much pressure to get to them because I announced that I'm reading it. So if I just have a group of books that I want to read from and I don't get to all of them, I feel better about that, less anxious about that. It's just a thing right now that I'm going through. And I'm sure some of you guys can relate. It's just mood reading has been the vibe this year, especially with everything going on in the world. Sometimes you just need to take a break from certain things and just read what you're feeling. And right now I'm feeling all the Gothic spooky feels. I'm kind of staying away from horror. I've been having some issues with horror, believe it or not, guys. I love paranormal stuff. I love haunted house things. But anything that has to do with, like, murders and killings and all that stuff, I'm a little bit sensitive to right now. I don't know why. So give me all the paranormal Gothic books, and I'm here for it. But other than that, that is it. That is all I have for you guys today. And if you want to see more videos from me, please just like and subscribe down below. And if you have any recommendations for me, any Gothic books that I did not mention in this video, please let me know in the comments down below. And I'll be talking to you guys soon. Bye!